Welcome back to the wonderful podcast of Fraggle Shrugged, where we read Atlas Shrugged and we discuss the Fraggles. And this time around, we watched the movie, Sigfrid.
Yes, finally!
Finally, we come to the movie.
We've been waiting for this.
And we have a guest with us. Do you want to introduce yourself?
Yes, I am the lovely partner to these two guys from Maanegal Media. My name is Kåre, and I also watched the movie, and I'm so psyched to be here.
Wow,
Hello.
welcome, Kåre.
How did you like it being dropped into this universe?
Well, this is I did not know what to expect when I said yes to it, and I don't think if I did that I would have said yes.
Should never have said yes to this.
But I kind of like it now. I'm living in the insanity, and that's nice.
Yes, participation is really predicated on not knowing what you're getting into.
Yeah, definitely.
So welcome to both the Fraggle universe and especially the Atlas universe.
Yes, and both of them are just insane this time.
I can't decide which is crazier.
And I kind of like that we introduce you at this point because it is insane, but normally not this level of absolute bad shit.
Well, I've joined at the right point then.
You have joined at the perfect moment.
Dagny, what we're doing. My metal, your railway. It's us who move the world.
Because the movie is just... it's like the room-ish in some way.
But also like with weirdly, like a bit of a better production quality sometimes.
It definitely has a better production quality, but it still has this thing that it's so bad that it's almost good.
Think part the room, part Netflix episode 10 of a season.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Like if you have the room... Just sprinkle the room over House of Cards, then you kind of have
That's
what the movie is.
And then add a lot of extra exposition.
Yeah, a lot of exposition. The
Too
entire
much.
movie is just exposition because the first third of the book that we read up until this point is just the entire movie.
Yeah, and this is they are trying to cover 312 pages in 96 minutes.
Yep.
1.5 hour. And they're not up to the task. They're not at all.
If that sounds rushed, it's because it is. Like
yes.
When it works the best, it's a best of compilation of what is great about the book.
Yeah.
When it works the worst, it's just like taking random scenes and putting them in sometimes random order from the book.
Yeah,
That's the exact feeling I got from watching it.
It's like
I have not read the book, but I don't think I missed much.
What do you want?
Money.
Well, they say you're intractable, you're ruthless, your only goal is to make money.
My only goal is to make money.
Because there are so many layers to the movie. There are the storytelling that is wonky at best. There are the technical aspects of the movie, so like the editing that is atrocious at times. There are the color grading, and I know this sounds nitpicky, but Jesus Christ, is that extreme in this movie.
Usually I don't notice that in a movie, but I notice it here.
It changes color schemes.
It's horrible.
On a whim.
It's horrible. And it's a clear-cut color scheme. It's so bad.
this scene is beige. This scene is green.
This scene is orange because we're outside in the sun.
So the scenes that works the best color-wise is like the sunset photos of trains. And that has to work for this movie, right?
And those were pretty good.
Yes.
They had like 30 seconds of just train porn.
Yes.
And that was good.
And they reuse all the scenes about 2 times.
Yeah, of course.
A beautiful horizon and a beautiful landscape, and then a train going through it. And it is really train porn, but it is actually good.
Yeah, and if you can demand one thing from an Atlas Shrugged movie, it is train porn. So at least they deliver there.
This is a fantastic movie.
Great.
Christmas trees. Train!
Oh, it's like a match cut, you know. They studied editing in college.
But if they had to match it, they could have matched it with the direction, but it was completely different directions.
It was a lack of a match cut.
But then every single time we're out in nature, it's just green, and it looks like this weird, like Technicolor 40s movie.
It's saturation, 200%.
You almost expect someone just running down the hills, screaming, "The hills are alive!"
Yeah,
No, it's more like you asked an 7 or 8 year old. While we're outside, we're in this scene. What color should it be? And they said green. And we're like, great, let's make the whole scene green.
Great, let's make all the trees green, the skin tones green. Everything has to just be
We're
green.
outside in the sun. What color is that? It's orange. Well, we'll make the trains orange, and the machinery orange, and the sunlight orange, and the people orange.
It's almost like, you know, the color grading from the newest Mad Max movie that has this like blue and teal, like the very good orange and blue. But they forgot to add in the blue, so it's just orange.
Welcome to Teal, the movie.
Yes, exactly.
For the first time.
So everyone's orange in this scene. We just chose orange as the base color for everyone. And that was green. That's all like
How is Hank Wynn just emerging from a bridge?
That's what he does. That's workers.
He's walking from the other side of the bridge.
Yeah, right.
Where did it come from? They wired him down.
This is important.
He's been airdropped by helicopter.
Yeah, it's been airdropped by helicopter.
To replace that bridge.
False.
Mistake is public.
You know what we would match his spacesuit with? A beige suit for her. Just a slightly lighter beige.
Make the entire scene beige. if you
Yes.
can.
Strong. It is safe. You know that.
The color grading in this movie is so inconsequential.
So the train porn works, and then that's the good stuff about this movie. Is that it?
Okay, we've covered the positives. Let's get to the negatives.
The train porn works. The rest of the color grading of the movie sucks.
Yeah.
The technical aspect, sometimes when you have conversations, they'll just cut at random intervals.
Yeah.
Like all the conversations seem stilted because, first of all, the writing is atrocious.
Yes, it definitely is.
But second of all, the editing of the writing just doesn't work. Also, the angles they're going makes them look like
Do you find
they're
this
in two
amusing?
different positions. Like
Not
they
at
was
all.
very crooked.
Your brother and his friends know nothing of the copper mining district.
I don't think I've seen a single conversation, and this is generalizing, but I don't think I've seen a single interaction between two people that was not just exposition that both these people must have known in advance.
Yep.
And
So
it
we're
is-
having a conversation to tell the viewer something. It's horrible.
I'm Ellis Wyatt.
How can I help you?
I'll introduce myself in the weirdest way possible.
And it is interesting from you because you haven't read any of the book.
No, I
and
haven't read any of the book.
and haven't listened to the show. So
I've listened to the first episode of the show, but that's it.
yeah, so you're coming in blank and you're just getting the
Yeah.
dose of Atlas Shrugged,
Yeah.
the magic of Atlas Shrugged through
The
this.
magic insanity.
So how do you feel? Like, if you had to summarize the movie, what is this movie about even?
This movie is about building a railway with
Yes,
new and experimental metal, and it's about exposition and a lot of exposition.
You know what?
But that's what the movie is about. There's not very much more to it. There are all these intricacies which are boring. So that's what the movie's about.
I kind of feel like we could just have watched the movie.
Exactly. We have wasted our time reading this book.
Because you got the entire picture.
Because
Thank you very much.
the book is very much this,
Yeah.
just with added like masturbation when it comes to
Yeah.
sentences, like weird word constructions
And rape.
Yeah, we
and
talked
rape.
about.
Oh yeah, there's not a lot of rape in this movie.
They
we
cut
talked
down on the
about
rape, which was
we talked about the one scene after when they celebrate that the bridge held, that actually worked.
by fucking.
Yeah, and they celebrate by having sex, and you told me that they just skip right. Well, for the first thing, the scene is horrible because they're standing in the hallway and they're deciding at this like, well, we're gonna kiss now, and then it cuts to the room where they're gonna start kissing. So they just like they made the decision, we're gonna start kissing, and they went to the other room and started it there.
Yes.
Yeah.
And you also told me that there's a whole rapey almost chapter about this interaction. Where he's like,
all the description is
I'm
so
an Antonio
problematic.
Banderas guy. You can't say no to me. I'm not giving you a chance to say no.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, because in the movie they show it off as this Hollywood romance where they just really glance into each other's eyes and then they lay down in the bed and then they have a lot of like passionate sex. But in the book, it is just conversation upon conversation about how she cannot resist Hank Reardon, and also she's in economic ties to him and she kind of has to fuck him in order to get this railroad going.
If you had
That's very romantic.
if you had asked me to pay with my body for this railroad, I would have. Would you have enjoyed it? It wouldn't have mattered.
And that's not paraphrasing, that's directly.
It's paraphrasing, but kind of.
I'm pretty glad I didn't read it.
Yeah.
I really am.
It is so uncomfortable. That was not how it was described.
They wisely cut all the dialogue.
Yes.
I think I'm curious enough now that I have to read it, but I'm not gonna enjoy it. And I know that I'm not gonna enjoy it. I'm
Well,
just too curious now.
You think
I
that
have,
now?
Yeah.
You think that
I have
now?
to find out exactly how horrible this is, because the impression that I got from the get go and from now is that it's so horrible that I can't imagine it. I need to see that. I need
Well,
to
you
find out
said-
what it is.
You sit down with a 1,000-page book and tell me how long you get with that kind of thinking. I have to see how bad this gets.
I think,
One
well-
paragraph, and which is 1.5 page, I think.
Well, I actually read a lot, so I think I might get through like 15 pages.
So
Wow.
either you could do this, or you could listen to the wonderful podcast of Fraggle Shrugged.
A word from our sponsor, ourselves.
At this point, actually, also I think we've passed the point, but we need to say that this podcast is not endorsed by Ayn Rand.
No,
Or is it?
Some would have guessed that it was, but it's not.
as it said in the the end credits of this movie.
Oh yeah.
This movie was reviewed by the Atlas Institute
but
and
not
not
endorsed.
by it.
This motion picture was produced with the permission but not participation of the estate of Ayn Rand. I think that's fair. Like, if I were the Ayn Rand estate, unfortunately I'm not, like, if I sat down and watched this movie, I would not have endorsed it.
No, I can't imagine anybody endorsing it.
But at the same time, I would feel enough pity for the people to not sue them, but I would not endorse
I'm gonna endorse this movie in the way that I say you should see this. This is fucking crazy. You're not gonna like it.
You endorse it like you endorse Birdemic.
yeah. You're not gonna like it, but you're curious now, so you have to watch it.
And we should just address that the free market thoroughly rejected this movie.
Yes.
Yes.
It was a
Strangely
flop.
enough, because Ayn Rand seems to have a great hold on what the free market dictates. I would have loved to see this movie fail while Ayn Rand was still alive, in order for her to experience how the free market rejected her
That would have
bullshit.
been delicious.
Yes, it would. But she would have probably pulled the Tolkien and be like, "Oh, this is not the interpretation of the book."
They completely understood my grand vision in my masterwork. They completely cut out Tom Bombadil.
And there's far too less masturbational language in this movie. It can't be mine. It can't be mine.
Please.
I'm kind of
Fingers crossed for Tom Bombadil in part 2, by the way.
I'm kind of missing, like, if anything from the book, I'm missing the long scenes where people have this, like, masturbatory word fights.
Oh, yes.
Because they have, like, such a tight frame of doing everything. A tight frame, I'm doing that in quotation marks. But because they have to do it in such a tight space, they kind of miss out on just 20 pages of nonsensical masturbation.
They miss a lot of the spirit of the book, because the book is really about people just angrily yelling capitalism at each other while masturbating. And it's...
Now you use that word masturbation a lot, but is it for actual, like sexual wordings in these things, or is it more like word porn?
No, it is more like word porn, because they just drag it out and they have these, like, long extended conversations where some of the quote-unquote villains in the movie, like her brother, will walk in and then he will say something completely reasonable, like, "We have to regulate the market because otherwise people are going to suffer and we're going to make a lot of money and we're going to crash the entire market." And then Daphne is just going to be like, "The market has to be free, because otherwise if people are not free, what is the world?"
Oh wow.
But we need monopolies!
Exactly.
It's like hero sentences.
It is immoral to regulate monopolies because we need the free market.
Oh wow.
I think that's a direct quote.
I don't think I'm gonna read this anyway.
Because at some point,
I'm pretty
your
sure
mind?
I'm not gonna.
Is this in the last chapter? Is it chapter 9 and chapter 10, where we found out that one of the big problems is that they want to regulate the market? And do you know what kind of taxes they want to put on the market?
No.
A 5% tax on the companies.
What?
And this is the reason.
This is insanity.
Because at the end of this film, this guy burns down his oil stuff. You know, the big dramatic climax. Oil fields just aflame. That is because the state has a 5% increase tax on industrial.
Also because he got a free ride to Atlantis.
Oh, yes.
My name is John Galt. I live in a place we call Atlantis, and I think you fit in there. It's a place where heroes live, and where those who want to be heroes live. The government we have there respects each of us as individuals and as producers. Actually, beyond a few courthouses, there's not much of a government at all. Bottom line, Mr. White, if you're weary of a government that refuses to limit its power over you, and if you're ready at this moment to claim the moral right to your own life, then we should leave. And I'll take you there. I'll take you to Atlantis.
This is so bad.
What horribly bad fucking happened?
I'll take you to Atlantis.
I'll take you to Atlantis.
I'm leaving it as I found it. Take the word yours.
Is that in the damn book?
I mean,
Because
they mentioned
it was
Atlantis.
like the single last minute of the movie flips this, that he goes to Atlantis and burns down his estate. That's
And the book has kind of a runner with where people don't know what happened to John Galt, and they have all sorts of mythical ideas. So somebody say, "Oh, he found the Fountain of Youth." Somebody says, "Oh, he found Atlantis," and it's all just this in the background.
Okay.
Here they just directly say, "Hi, I'm John Galt. I live in Atlantis. You should come with me down here."
which is pure insanity, because
Yes.
the whole rest of the movie has been like mentioning John Galt, and then I was sitting there and I asked, "Well, who's John Galt?" And no one knows. That's what you told me. We don't know either.
We don't know that. And who's John Galt
Galt?
is the sentence they use about John Galt. Who's John Galt?
Who's John Galt? I said, who is John Galt?
Well, I ask useless questions. How deep is the ocean? How high is the sky? Who is John Galt?
Just answer the question, please.
Who's John Galt?
Why are you leaving?
Who is John Galt?
The John Galt line.
But so many great names.
John Galt.
That's the name.
That's the question.
Yes, you know everything about this.
appropriate question.
Okay.
Tiger transfer.
They ask that all the time.
That's-
They look dramatically into the camera.
Two last things.
Wow.
First, I'm taking.
Miss Taggart, who is John Galt?
We are.
It's like a proverb,
Yeah.
like they direct quote the book, a cheap piece of slang, which doesn't really make sense because nobody would say, who's John Galt as a response to anything.
Also, because in the book you can kind of hide it, where people can just like offhandedly mention who is John Galt. But in the movie, it's this weird guy from clearly like a noir movie.
Yeah, he
walking
really is from a
around
noir movie.
with a hat in black and white.
We see him all the time just sitting in the bar with the worst detective disguise ever.
Trying to hide his identity. So of course he's wearing a big Western hat, and of course he's sitting right at the entrance of the bar.
And then every single time he confronts someone, you go up to them and then you criticize their capitalistic ways, and then you like flash freeze, like freeze the frame, and then like typewriter text will come in over the screen. And it's like, this person is now missing.
Like the
This
cheapest detective thriller ever.
Yes.
And that's not in the book, in the part one. We don't meet John Galt.
No.
But in this movie, we just have him all the time just hanging out like a serial killer.
But also but from watching this movie, because it ends with the whole like burning down of the factories.
And the mystery of the Atlantis thing.
And it just ends in a way where it's like, okay, this feels like half a movie.
Or 1/3.
Yes, at 1/3. Yeah. Missing Alice Wyatt.
This is Ellis Wyatt. I'm gone. Don't try to find me. You won't. I am on strike.
I did not need that exposition at the end.
So if
No one needed that exposition at the end.
So
They definitely thought or knew that they were gonna get a sequel.
it just kind of ends.
They knew they were going to get a sequel in that they had made a company dedicated to making 3 movies out of this book. So they knew they were going to make a
And
sequel.
you're gonna make a sequel. But that's still the strangest ending I've ever seen. And you actually said it when we watched, when we got close to the ending. You said this is one of the most boring endings or cliffhangers to a sequel, and it really is. Except for that last minute where everything drops.
Everything happens.
Yeah.
Like up until that point, you have an entire movie that is for 1 hour and 29 minutes. It's just exposition upon exposition, and then you have happening.
It's
all
all
the
set up
action-
for one scene.
And it's so boring exposition that they don't tell you the actual facts that you need to know about it.
Yeah.
Because this magical, the magical metal, it's never mentioned why it's problematic. I didn't get that. I didn't catch that. Is it actually mentioned anywhere?
You have an entire chapter in the book that's just about all the scientists going against the metal not because it's quote unquote problematic, but because there's not like the science side of it hasn't been able to look into the metal because it's relatively new. So there isn't scientific proof that the metal isn't going to collapse and kill a lot of people on the railroad, which is actually.
The movie doesn't tell that.
Makes a lot of sense.
The movie just says that there's a massive outrage against it from the scientific community, but not why. Why are they against it? We don't get that info.
The magic outrage being this one guy who has 3 accents, an Indian, a Middle Eastern, and like a British accent at the same time.
Playing character Dr. Robert Stadler.
Plain gold, by the way. Watch the entire movie only for him.
Please, consider my side, Miss Staggered. I work for the last center of science left on Earth. We do rely on public funding. Which do I sacrifice an excellent piece of smelting ore, the future of this institute? Miss Staggered, please sit down.
Also, what the fuck is up with this glory filter? She looks like a god.
The halo.
Exactly.
The same technique.
It looks like they're in a cathedral.
Yeah, why are they in a church?
They're not. They're in a university. What is this? Fuck.
I mean...
Well, it is so bad that it's good.
But don't worry, like the book goes into detail of what Reardon metal is.
Yeah,
I'm gonna skip that.
So if you're curious...
Yeah, I'm gonna enjoy reading the first 2 lines of that, and then I'm gonna skip it.
I think if you're curious, you can go into, I don't remember whether it's episode 5 or 6, where we have an entire erotic reading about Reardon metal.
Yeah, I'm gonna experience this book, but I'm gonna experience it through your show.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd much rather.
Seems like the perfect way to do it.
The only way to experience Atlas Shrugged is through Fraggle Shrugged.
Remember, we're doing this so you don't have to read the book.
That's the entire premise.
Because don't read the book, please.
We have decided on that. Don't follow along on this journey. Don't. Just don't. Don't read the book.
I'm sorry if we let you into believing that. Please take the book, burn it.
If you have been reading along this far, stop.
Sorry, just stop it.
It's not worth it.
We do not endorse this book.
Because I can
we
say,
do not endorse Ayn Rand.
Nope.
I can say as much as I have thought about quitting this a million times. I don't know about you, Sigvald, but I've just looked
I am shocked.
Every single time we have to read a chapter in this book, I was just like, what the fuck?
You're suffering.
What the fuck am I doing with my life?
You're selling the premise of this book and the entire reason for making a podcast about it very well, my friend.
But that was the entirety. Let's say how we can break each other. Yeah. But at this point, the problem is we're a third into this project. I cannot quit. I want to finish this, but I hate everything about it.
I'll have to say, when I heard the first...
You don't hate everything. Fraggles.
When I heard the first pitch for this and the first idea about it, I was like, well, that seems strange. Have fun with that, because I'm not going to be a part of it.
That's not going to happen.
I'm not going to do that.
I've traveled a very long way to be here.
Yeah, you got a long way to go, too.
Woo. Should we pause Atlas for a moment? We will get back to it, don't worry. Yeah. But let's pause that for a moment and just get into this episode of Fraggle Rock. Because this time around, we chose to be like, okay, so we're watching a movie, so let's jump ahead a bit and let's watch the season finale of, like, season 1 of Fraggle Rock.
Down at Fraggle Rock. Down at Fraggle Rock.
And boy, that's an episode.
What the hell happened?
Well, we just watched the movie for Atlas Shrugged.
Yes.
And I thought that was crazy. And then we watched, and again, I've not previously been acquainted with Fraggle Rock, so this was also a first for me. And that's insanity. That's just pure insanity in a can.
Boy, were you in for a surprise.
Yeah, I was in for a treat.
As were we. Because that is just off the rails.
It's a roller coaster.
First of all, the lead character has changed appearance. Okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
In the beginning of the episode, he broke his leg.
We just meet him just severely injured and just in a cast. And that's just, we just have to accept that.
I feel that he probably got injured in the episode before.
But knowing Fraggle Rock, that might not be the case.
Okay.
It has not been serialized in any way this far.
Okay, wow.
So I think this is just how it begins and ends, maybe.
That would actually be the beginning then, with just like cold starting on on him being injured. Oh wow.
Oh no, cold starting on Sprocket getting hella swole. just pumping a phone book.
Sprocket finally had enough of Doc's bullshit and just decided to swell up and be this bodybuilder of a dog by lifting a phone book continuously while the dog has invented this kind of miracle cure.
He stays Sprocket.
Actually got him treats.
And it's all
No.
for the sake of science.
He's not forgiving him.
Oh, Sprocket, you can forget all that exercising stuff. With my new invention, exercising is passé. Dieting is for the dogs.
What the
it's no
fuck?
longer necessary, thanks to this. My miracle diet
don't
drink
drink
is my
that.
own recipe.
Do not drink.
Distilled
Yeah, he has invented a dietary cure that you just have to drink before you start eating, and then you'll never get fat, and you'll always get slim.
So he ends up eating a lot of shit while drinking this dietary supplement.
Yeah, he buys all the unhealthy snacks.
Exactly.
The pies and the cakes and everything.
And ends up gaining 12 pounds.
Yeah.
While Sprocket works out as a maniac.
You've lost 7 pounds. How did you do that?
By not getting fat.
Oh, I don't get it.
Clearly Sprocket
You ain't
has an
even on a
erection.
diet.
He does not need to lose more weight.
And we get to see a whole new side of Sprocket. We get to see him lying on his back looking weirdly human.
Yeah, disturbing.
It's disturbingly human.
And swole. He is.
Yeah, he's
ripped, dude.
He's getting ripped, man.
Yeah.
I kind of half expect the episode 1 of season 2 just being you see Doc with his throat ripped out and the dog just sitting upon him.
Or maybe it's getting into kind of like a feed situation where Doc is just getting a massively obese and Sprocket is just feeding him to keep him from moving and Sprocket is taking over. And,
Yeah, probably.
Wow.
and looking weirdly human, so maybe he's starting to walk on his hind legs and just pretending to be Doc using his duck costume.
Yeah, he's gonna be the new dog. He's gonna steal his identity.
Because he has a duck costume, we learned.
He does, actually.
In
Oh, wow.
episode
They have
8 or something.
costumes of each other that they go to Halloween dressed up as each other.
So he's already ready to take on the role of
Oh, wow.
Doc.
I'm gonna have to see that.
This is getting crazy in season 2.
So what we're saying in general, this wouldn't be the craziest thing that have happened.
No, definitely not.
In the Fraggle universe.
Well,
But this episode this time around.
yeah, the
goes
episode
places.
is the craziest.
Oh yeah.
So we see Mookie wanting to capture flying hairy bat.
Yeah, a flying hairy-chested bat. A hairy-chested bat.
So she goes off.
She wants to paint it.
She wants to paint it, and she goes off being she cannot. She has this great quote.
They only come out at night. When will you sleep? I won't. I shall stay awake for the sake of science. Wow.
I'll stay awake for science.
I'll stay awake for science, which
Yeah.
is an incredibly Randian thing to say.
Very Dagny.
Yeah.
So she of course falls asleep within 2 minutes.
Very undagny.
And this is weird because you do not know this. It didn't state in the movie, but Dagny used to actually work at the Taggart Transcontinental as a driver, but a engineer.
When she was a 16-year-old, she was at college for one thing.
Yes.
Yeah.
During the day, and at night she was manning a train station in the middle of nowhere.
Oh, wow.
Just by herself.
Wow.
Just a sleep-deprived teenager.
Wow.
We
that's
tried to
insane.
count up the hours and be like, she hasn't slept for 3 years at that point.
Yeah. Wow.
It's fucking crazy.
That's why she is so crazy.
Yeah.
She's
does not
like
sleep.
literally insane in the movie.
She's crazy for many reasons. One of which is that she's been groomed by men for sexual purposes, which is.
Yeah. There's a reason why one chapter is called The Chain.
Called The Chain.
Yes.
And another is called The Climax of the Anconia.
Oh wow.
It is a problematic fucking book.
Oh,
But
Yeah, really.
going back to the Fraggle universe.
Yeah.
So Mookie is trying to paint this weird creature.
What is that atrocity?
This is disturbing. It's horrifying.
What?
Oh, my! This is going to be a lovely portrait.
Crazy.
Smile.
Then apparently, in the meantime, overnight, every single Fraggle has a nightmare.
Yeah, they have this collective nightmare
Yes.
about the
trash heap.
No, it's not. It's not the trash. It's the what are they called? The big.
Yeah,
the
there's
big
also the
fellows.
Gorks. The
Yeah,
Gork
gongs,
is coming like
yeah.
a big menace.
Yeah,
around
they're
them.
afraid of the gongs, and they're all having this collective nightmare about it.
So they're doing this in technical terms, like weird double or triple exposure, where you see like pictures upon pictures. So you see like the Fraggles sleeping, and then put on top of that, interlaid on top of that, is like the picture of a Gork jumping out on the screen, and then you have a like weird ominous saying from the trash heap all over that,
Which is their oracle.
Yes.
Isn't it like she always knows the answer for everything?
Yes.
The trash heap.
Yeah.
And spoiler alert, the trash heaps comes with kind of trashy advice.
Oh, really?
I'm orange peels. I'm coffee grounds. I'm wisdom. I just feel so alone. Alone? Then don't be alone. Get some friends. Friends help.
The trash heap has spoken.
Thank you, Madam Trash Heap.
We love her.
Yeah, she's the best character.
I think she's adorable.
She's a drag queen in trashy disguise.
Yeah.
But
she's nice and sassy.
She is nice and sassy. But at that point, we just see this literally nightmarish scene.
Yeah.
And out of that comes a cult worshipping Mookie?
Yes, because for some reason Mookie is assigned to be the new trash heap, because for some reason the old trash heap isn't.
No, it's because in the dream, the oracle, the trash heap, says that the Fraggles have to look for wisdom within themselves.
Right, yeah.
Do not be afraid, little Fraggles. It is only a dream. But listen to me. This is a great opportunity for you. A chance to look for wisdom within yourselves.
And then they hold this meeting, and they decide that looking for wisdom inside themselves is for new wisdom. So they need to find a Fraggle who has done something new that no Fraggle has ever done before. And that's when Mookie shows up with her picture that no one has ever painted of the hairy-chested bat.
Hi, everybody. I've done it. The first ever portrait of the never-before-seen hairy-chested batworm. Yay! Mookie, 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 Mookie.
And so they decide that she should be the leader of their cult and be their new oracle.
yeah.
She's now an oracle.
She's now an oracle. She's now trash heap.
And up until this point, we've been talking backwards and forwards about how the Fraggle Kingdom is kind of a cult, but it just goes full.
Yes, we've joked about it several times that it's like a murder cult.
I could always call for the solemn oath of the Fraggle.
No.
No, you wouldn't. The oath of the Fraggle is one of our ancient and unchangeable rituals. It binds us together in the great Fragglehood of the Rock.
Once one of us calls for the oath, the others have to swear to it.
Weeba, weeba, waffa, waffa, garpouse, gumbigs, whoopee.
Oh, wonderful.
This is just directly.
It's full Jamestown. Like,
yeah.
This is straight up Scientology.
Yes.
Yeah.
Everything she says is the real truth and has to be followed. And if you ever go against her, then you get the whole community against you.
And she gets power mad.
Yeah, she gets incredibly power mad.
What did you expect? We have been building to this.
We have actually kind of been building to this for an entire season.
It's kind of surprising. It's kind of surprising because Fraggle Rock hasn't been serialized this far, but actually they have been building a sort of narrative that is culminating here.
And now I kind of want to go back, like, to watch the previous.
Yeah, I also want to go
episodes
back
see
and watch the previous
fuck
episodes.
happened.
Actually, I just want to dive deep into the Fraggle Rock because it's so
It's
mad.
worth it. It's
yeah,
worth it.
Yes.
Yeah, it really is. It's very crazy, But at the same time, it's very rewarding.
Well,
And
you did
it's,
catch the craziest fucking thing ever. So.
Yeah, well, okay. But it's still very entertaining to watch.
If you're looking to dive into one of these parts of cultural heritage, dive into Fraggle Rock.
Yes, not the book. Don't read the book.
Just skip Atlas Shrugged and go into Fraggle Rock.
Go into Fraggle Rock. And start on this episode, the season ending for season 1.
Just watch it. It's very, very bingeable, I would say. Like, you can just have it running in the background.
I could do that. I can imagine that being a nice Sunday.
Also, because it has this good rhythm of both having like the silly stories of Fraggle Rock, but then having actual genuinely alright music sometimes.
And just horribly dark philosophical stuff.
Yep.
Just nihilism all over the.
But they'll just drop it, like as you could see from the episode. Now they'll just like drop it at certain points. You're like, oh, okay, that's.
Yeah, it just goes from this is all la di da Fraggle Rock kids TV. That's good, and then boom. Here is some deep knowledge, deep psychological knowledge that you have to think about.
Well, I mean, it didn't seem like I was a slave. I guess some slavery feels like freedom.
Yeah, and you know, the last episode we watched, the subtext was basically, if your friend seems lost, if you can't find him, forget him. Don't worry about it, just move on.
Oh, wow.
If your friend is lost in the woods, they're lost.
Who is it? Like in that episode, it's Gobo Fraggle, right, that gets lost in the human world because they board up the hole from which they can travel between the Fraggle universe and into the universe of the dog
and the man.
duck.
Yeah.
The dog and the man. And then they board up that hole, so he's stuck with the dog. So then they run back into the Fraggle universe, and then they sing a song about how sad it is. But the subtext of that is, oh, it's super sad we lost him, so we have to deal with that now.
Oh, haven't we forgotten something?
You're forgetting Gobo! He's trapped forever in the outside world!
Oh, yeah. We should all be depressed.
Yeah, singing that sad song made us much too happy.
And on that note, let's get back on the action for this episode.
I don't mind being unhappy. I just can't bear the thought of a laundry failure at this point in my career.
So we're at this point where Mookie is a cult leader, basically, and is very, very power mad.
She's very power mad, but she also like kind of understands her position in the universe in a weird way, where she has talks. About, so what's my position in this, and how am I supposed to lead these Fraggles, because they cannot think for themselves, so they need a cult leader like me. And again, seems weirdly poignant in this political climate right now.
Yeah.
The Fraggles no longer want to think for themselves, and I don't know how to change that.
All of it sort of just makes sense because she's the Trumpian Fraggle this time around. It's
definitely.
It's very Trumpian.
She really is.
So we can turn into Donald Trump.
Yeah.
Really, Gobo, I don't think you should question my judgment.
What?
It looks to me like you're having too much fun to care about the truth.
Most Trumpian.
All we need to do is like throw out the brown
And at the same time, we have Atlas Shrugged, which this time around is set in 2016.
Yes.
Not a year in the US where a lot of stuff happened.
Can we
No, not at all.
Can we just quickly go into the whole, like, we forgot to talk about that with the Atlas Shrugged, but the weird time frame of it. So the book is set in what, the 50s?
In the 50s where it's written, so
exactly.
It makes sense.
So the book is set in the 50s.
At a point where rail transport was prominent in the US.
The movie's made in 2011 and set in 2016. But weirdly enough, even though it's 2011, they seem to use technology from 1995.
Yeah. They have a weird, just a wave of like, plane started crashing, so now railroad is important again. Anyway, on with the story.
Just do that because the railroads were important when the book was written back in the day.
Is that another part of bad exposition that I missed?
It was an opening montage. Just things. Now railroad is important.
That's horrible.
Now we can travel by anything but rail.
Global States Oil Corporation suffered yet another major spill off the Gulf Coast.
We're seeing an unprecedented, totally unexpected
and as a result,
collapse.
rail travel has reemerged as the only affordable means of freight and passenger transportation.
This is your wake-up call, America.
Another government relief ship was hijacked late last night by pirate Ragnar Danishfjord.
Violence and crime are skyrocketing.
This is like a best-of.
Just an excuse to keep the railroads, which of course is the most important part of Atlas Shrugged. So you couldn't update that.
But if you had to make this movie for today, couldn't you just have made it as planes? No. Or made another form of transportation that would be the analog to today's transportation.
You definitely could.
Or make like a super environmentally friendly train.
Ew, what did you say? That was not Randy at all.
It's not Randy at all. But you can see the analog where it's like, we can't fly because the environment is crashing. But at that point, it becomes like weirdly socialist because you have to keep it.
And socialism kills.
Socialism kills. Everyone knows that in the Ayn Rand universe.
And also the problem, if you take the movie into today, we have learned that from the industrial age, we have learned the consequences of just of that time. So you can't really take the politics and just transport into today because, spoiler alert, the industrial age kind of trashed the entire world.
It's actually fun about the political climate, both for the movie and also for 2016, where you don't need very much in the female character. What's her name?
Dagny.
Dagny, yeah. You don't need very much in her because she's very strong and very independent, and she's always right.
The consensus of the best metallurgical authorities are highly skeptical.
I'm not interested in their opinions.
Then whose do you go by?
My own. I studied engineering in college, Jim. When I see things, I see them.
You don't need very much there to go full Trump because she's not always right, but she really believes that she is.
Yeah.
We're not going to allow you to run that train on the John Galt line.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
And it's the same actually with Mookie in the Fraggle, that she is always right at that point. The flip is there that as soon as one of the Fraggles tells her that you're not always right and you're doing this wrong, everyone thinks that everything you say is right, and that's not a good thing. She actually takes that advice to her and actually works with it. Not in the first part, but
incredibly weird for a Fraggle to have this very human reaction.
Oh yeah.
But that's also because it's Mookie and not Red. Because you don't know that because this episode barely featured her, but the Red Fraggle is basically Dagny.
Okay.
Yep.
She has a song called "I Can Do It on My Own. I Can Do It on My Own."
Yeah.
I can do it on my own. Do it on your own. I can do it on your own. On my own. Do it on your own. I can do it on my own.
Had it been Red who was the enigmatic cult leader, half of the Fraggles would have died in genocide.
Horribly.
Yeah. Mookie is absolute best case scenario for a leader. If you want a cultist leader, get Mookie because she's a reasonable person.
Get someone who likes the people.
And also an airhead. So she'll actually question everything around her, and like she's the dreamer and the painter and the artist.
A member of Fleetwood Mac.
She is kind of the lead singer of
In the last part of the episode, what happens is that she gets questioned by one of the Fraggles.
Gobo.
By Gobo. Who tells her that this is not the way, and you're not actually the oracle, because the dream said find wisdom inside yourself, not in a leader who's done something, because they completely misinterpreted this dream.
Mookie, the dream said the Fraggles should look for wisdom within themselves.
You mean I'm not an oracle? Oh, Gobo. Oh, Gobo, you were right. This is a big mess, and it's all my fault.
And she actually sees it, so she hosts this meeting for all the Fraggles, where she comes up with this horrible plan that the injured Fraggle should go out and make a duel with one of the Gorks.
Gobo will hobble out on his little bitty
And everyone is like, yay, no, wait, okay, we're gonna go with you, but we're gonna do this plan where we're gonna go with you. And then she just puts this extra thing on it that, well, we're all gonna go together and we're gonna do it blindfolded.
There's just one more teeny little thing. Everyone must be blindfolded.
And that's
and
when...
it's just setting up the stakes, and we're sitting basically on the edge of our couch being like,
pins and needles.
So what is gonna happen? Then they cut to Doc and Sprocket, like finishes their storyline of the thing.
Yeah.
And then the episode ends. Like the entire season just ends, and you're like, no, what the fuck?
It's the most crazy thing I've ever seen. They actually do end up finishing that line for the Fraggles, because they all question her, and then she steps down. She says, "That was my plan by saying this doing this horrible idea," but they don't ever find out. Well, when are we gonna go out to the garden that the Gorks keep them
seems like
from?
they're still on the way.
But they're not. If you go back into like thinking about the episode, I don't know if you noticed this, but Mookie actually like does a weird gesture, giving him an elbow in the side and then doing a wink, basically suggesting that they're not gonna fight the Gorks, that they're just gonna put blindfolds on all of the Fraggles, and like pretending it's gonna be a fight. But we don't ever get to see that.
And then it ends on a very weird note where they are so good friends that they hold hands, and she gives him this.
They're so good friends.
This circle of flowers on his head, and they go away like, we're friends, and everyone's like, I think you're more than friends. And this is strange.
They fucking.
They're fraggling.
Yeah, they're fraggling.
They fucking.
They're definitely fraggling.
No, they're just friends. They're just.
Yeah, right.
I mean,
Hey!
Yeah, definitely.
You're running, hey?
friends with Fraggle Fits.
With Fraggle Fits.
But also, we've been setting up for the first half of the season Red and Gobo as a romantic thing,
like a power couple. They really tries to establish this,
and then
I could see that in the episode.
No, but this is Mookie, another Fraggle.
Yeah, then it's Mookie in the other. But I could see that dynamic between between those two, and then Mookie all of a sudden is this girlfriend thing.
It's a weird love triangle to have in a Muppet show.
But maybe he just has like a hunger for power. Because he just goes with the most powerful Fraggle at the time.
Maybe,
maybe.
Maybe he's just horny.
Maybe he is just horny.
But this last love story is just as weird and just as strange as the one in Atlas Shrugged, where they celebrate their success by having sex. It's such a weird scene, and it's the same for the last scene in the Fraggle episode.
I just want to say half of it. Like
it's so normal in the movie. It's so normal in that movie.
Okay.
Trust me, like seeing that movie, it could be way worse.
Oh,
The
wow.
book is.
Oh wow!
It's so uncomfortable.
Again, they cut out the rape, and I guess that makes the movie better than the book.
Yes and no. So technically, from a production standpoint, I guess it tells the story a bit better. It is still super disjointed. I have found it less enjoyable, but that's
the book.
No, like the movie was less enjoyable in a way because we don't have the like really ridiculous rants that we have in our
Right, we lose a lot of the randomness.
So it loses a lot of character to the point where it's just a semi-bad movie. And I think you could have fixed this in so many ways. First of all, fixing the production qualities could have been fixed by hiring a proper editor and a proper color grader.
That's selling out.
But at the same time, just
a socialist.
leaving
socialist, not
like
free
make
market.
it like 10 minutes longer and have one of the rants in there. Like have characters battling it out on quote unquote wits, because it's not good. It's not good writing, but like have this extended like battle of the mind.
Have what you actually go to Ayn Rand for.
Exactly.
Be in the movie that's supposed to entice people to Ayn Rand.
The core of the book is not in the movie.
No.
Have a voiceover describing, and the man entered the room. His face was gaunt and angular.
This was dripping with moisture.
Yeah, that's how the fucking book is written.
I'm gonna love reading this book. I'm gonna hate reading this book, but I'm gonna love hating it.
His eyes turned around the room, and all he could see was the dark sliver of light coming in from a streak. It just goes.
That's
on.
exactly what I think. That's horribly fantastic.
The building was a sword that cut through the air and penetrated the world around it, with all of its magnitude bursting into flames of perception, expiring at the thought of a miracle which could be of metal of any kind, but would be of Reardon metal.
And that's just the opening of the. That is literally like the opening of the book is that Dagny looking at skyscrapers for 10 minutes.
Oh wow.
Yes.
And in that language.
Yes.
Wow.
Slightly more nonsensical.
This is what we go through all the time.
We suffer for this.
I'm so glad that I'm doing other projects for Maanegal Media instead of this one.
Don't go through.
Good on you.
But I'm gonna be back. I'm gonna be back for the next movie.
Yes.
Ooh,
So in what, half a year you're gonna be?
In half a year, I'm gonna come back.
And we're gonna suffer through 10 more chapters. I guess if it's evenly split out. 10 or 12 more.
If you guys are still mentally alive in half a year, I'll see you guys again.
We're gonna be broken people.
But we can't really go through our departments because we haven't written down Randian, Fragglian sentences. So right off the bat, Lillian Reardon still boss.
Lillian Reardon still fucking boss. I think they could have actually hammed her up a bit, but
she was surprisingly prolific in the movie. I thought there was a lot of Lillian Reardon, which I appreciated.
But you could have done with a bit more sass.
Don't worry, I didn't come in here for sex.
Thank you, dear. Why are you here?
The next time you decide to throw a party, can you stick to your own crowd? Don't bother inviting people you think are my friends.
But Henry, you don't have any friends.
The fucking jewelry in the movie. Let's just mention that. So.
Oh yeah.
The bracelet that Lillian Reardon describes as being an atrocity, the bracelet that Hank Reardon gives her out of the first drop of moist Reardon metal, is really bad. It looks like actual train tracks.
Yeah. So she's not wrong in saying it's train like.
You giving me a railroad spark?
Fucking ugly.
It's wonderful. It is. It's original. I'll be the toast of the town, wearing a piece of the same metal used to build railroads and bridges and sewer pipes and oil tanks. And a chain is appropriate. I think it's the chain by which he holds us all in bondage.
But it's not. It's like the same level as all the other jewelry, so it doesn't really.
But that's
compute.
not good because the train tracks made out from the Reardon metal look like plastic.
But all of Dagny's jewelry looks like something you bought from H&M.
So when she exchanges her necklace for the bracelet, it doesn't really translate because they're both just fucking.
Also, that fucking scene, because in the book they set it up where she has like a tete-a-tete with Lillian Reardon. But in the movie, it's just like she just walks up to her, stares at her, and be like, "Let's trade jewelry."
Yeah, because in the book, Lillian Reardon says, "Oh, if anybody would like to trade this for anything, I would be down for that." And Dagny just steps out, and the room grows silent as she says, "I will exchange."
And then you have Hank like shivering in the background because they have this.
Yeah.
At this point in the book, they haven't fucked yet, but they have like weird flirtatious energy.
Yeah.
So it's her like stepping in and basically in front of his wife, like shows her.
I really do love that bracelet.
I would throw it into the fire if I thought it would burn.
Perhaps I can take it off your hands.
Are you serious? I was planning on giving it to the maid for her birthday. Dagny and I are having a negotiation, it seems. You were saying.
A simple trade. That bracelet for this necklace.
Also, in the book, we kind of have this like last chapter with Lillian where she fucking knows they're fucking.
Yeah.
But she doesn't say it outright, but they have this wonderful scene where she just scolds like Hank Reardon. And we didn't get to see that.
Yeah, they kind of done Lillian dirty there.
Yeah.
Because we miss out on her just being completely aware of everything that happens around her and just being above it all.
She comes in, it's so amazing. She comes into his bedroom and she's like, why can I not stay in here? I am your wife after all. And just, don't you want to
she says,
look after me?
I heard that I had a husband and I thought I might see what he looked like.
Yeah, she is bows.
Oh, big,
and
big bows.
She's looking at him at some point and he's just like, what do you want me to say? And then she's just saying, I'm not outright going to say it, but you know what I'm saying. Oh, fuck
and
yes,
he's
Lillian Wynn.
Oh, love that character.
Yeah, she's
but that's not what I got.
And he's
not
just
at
the
all.
worst. He says, what purpose do you live for, Lillian?
He says that literally out to her.
Oh, wow.
And I said that last time, I'm gonna say it again. Here's fun game, try saying that to your loved one. Why do you exist? Please explain yourself.
All done then?
It's definitely a lot more exploration of this book that I'm gonna do, and also of this fantastic podcast.
But I think this was also meant as a like weird little one-off where we would explore a different side of the Atlas Shrugged universe in the Fraggle Rock, and I think we got to do that.
Oh yes, this is the summation of season 1, you could call it, part 1.
So definitely hope that you're gonna do the movie 2 and 3 and have me back for them. I would definitely love that.
We're definitely gonna do that. We're gonna need a bit of a break now, just to like absorb.
Henrik may just die of exhaustion.
Maybe I die of exhaustion.
Yeah, you look like it.
But I'll be back. I'll be back for season 2.
Did you hear? Balfew Banks is here. Hell yeah.
He said happiness is a delusion of those whose emotions are superficial. He's a genius.
Who are you? Who are you?
I'm Philip Reardon.
Exposition.
And on that note, I think we should wrap up.
Let's shut this down. This has been season 1 of Fraggle Shrugged, everyone.
Ladies and gentlemen, we made it.
we
just have 2/3 left.
Exactly, and actually more than 2/3. But let's not talk about that. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been the season, and we're out. Good night.
You have more messages, Mr. Reardon. National Council of Metal Industries.
File it.
The State Science Institute.
File it.
United Metalworkers Guild.
Did you just chuckle? Unions.